Hello and welcome back. In this test, we're taking a look at the hard floor and carpet cleaning performance of the Dreame Aqua 10 roller. We start with my carpet cleaning test. For the test setup, I'm using 2 different carpets and 1 dirt mat. Each carpet is prepared with 10 grams of standardized test dust, which is worked deep into the fibers. The dirt mat is prepared with 5 grams of test dust. The robot then cleans each surface using its maximum suction setting. During the test, it passes over the carpets 14 times and over the dirt mat 7 times. For the Dreame Aqua 10 roller, I also tested 2 different main brush options. The first is the standard brush that comes with the robot. The second is the HyperStream 2.0 brush. With HyperStream 2.0, the brush mounting system has been redesigned, although the new mount itself isn't compatible with the Aqua 10. However, the orange brush roll has also been updated, with slightly stiffer rubber fins. The good news is that the brush roll itself can still be swapped out easily even without using the new mounting system. That allowed me to run the same cleaning test with both brush versions. So in this test, we'll see how much dust the robot was able to remove and whether the HyperStream 2.0 brush actually improves the carpet cleaning performance of the Dreame Aqua 10 roller. Let's take a look at the results. On the low pile dirt mat, which was cleaned using a checkerboard pattern, the robot was able to remove 72% of the test dust using the standard brush. With the HyperStream 2.0 brush, the result was slightly lower. In this case, the robot removed 68% of the test dust. On the dark blue carpet with very soft pile, which was also cleaned using a checkerboard pattern, the robot completed 14 passes over the surface. With the standard brush, it was able to remove 56% of the test dust. Using the HyperStream 2.0 brush, the result was lower, with 44% of the dust removed. Finally, we have the red carpet, with very dense pile. This is the most difficult surface in this test. For this carpet, the robot only cleans using horizontal cleaning lines, since vertical passes would actually reduce the cleaning performance. With the standard brush, the robot was able to remove 26% of the test dust. Using the HyperStream 2.0 brush, the result was lower, with 20% of the dust removed. So, a quick note about HyperStream 2.0. As we've seen in the tests, using these new main brushes doesn't provide any benefit with the Dreame Aqua 10 roller. In fact, the results are noticeably worse. In my opinion, this is mainly because the new brush design creates more resistance. And the main brush mount and motor inside the Aqua 10 simply aren't designed for that additional load. You can also see this when comparing the brush mounting systems. The newer design includes an additional small pin, which provides extra stability for the brush assembly. This likely helps distribute the stress more evenly, instead of putting all the load on the brush gearbox alone. However, the Aqua 10 doesn't support this new mounting system, because the housing doesn't have the cutout for that stabilizing pin. As a result, the upgraded brush can't be properly supported, which likely explains the overall drop in cleaning performance we saw in the tests, so the bottom line is simple. With the Dreame Aqua 10 roller, switching to the HyperStream 2.0 brush isn't worth it. For the comparison and overall evaluation, we'll be using the results from the standard brush. First, we'll look at an internal brand comparison, meaning previously tested robots from Dreame and Mova. I'm including Mova here as well, since the 2 brands are closely related. After that, we'll also compare the results to my current top performers for each carpet test. Let's start with the red carpet. With a dust pickup rate of 26%, the Aqua 10 lands right in the middle of the pack. A much stronger result came from the Dreame X40, which achieved 39% in this test using its full rubber brush. The Mova robots, on the other hand, perform noticeably worse here. That's mainly because they use this shark fin style design on the underside. It's intended to help guide debris toward the main brush, but for carpet cleaning, that design actually becomes a significant disadvantage, and that trend is consistent across all of the Mova test results. Next, let's look at the dark blue carpet. Here, the Aqua 10 performs quite well within the brand comparison, reaching 56% dust pickup. However, it still doesn't manage to beat the Dreame X40. Interestingly, on this particular carpet, the X40 achieves the same result regardless of which main brush is installed. Still, the Aqua 10 is much closer to the top performers in this test. And as mentioned earlier, the Mova Z50 and Z60 fall significantly behind here as well. Finally, let's look at the dirt mat test. With 72% dust pickup, the Aqua 10 again delivers a very strong result within the internal comparison. However, it still doesn't reach the 80% achieved by the Dreame X40 with the tri-cut brush variant. But as we saw before, the Mover robots are again clearly outperformed, and overall the Aqua 10 lands roughly on the same level as the Dreame X50 in this test. Next, we move on to the comparison with the current top 7 for each carpet type. We start with the doormat. Here, the 72% achieved by the Dreame Aqua 10 is actually enough to make it into the top 7. This means that the Dreame X50 gets pushed out of the list. However, there is still quite a gap to the very top, especially to the Green Mark top 3 and in particular to the AEG RX 9.2, which leads the field here with 100%. Next up is the dark blue carpet. Here the performance is no longer enough for a top 7 placement. In particular, there is again a noticeable gap to the top 3, as some devices manage to remove over 90% or even 100% of the debris. Finally, we look at the dark red carpet. It's therefore not surprising that the 26% result is not enough to make it into the top 7. On this carpet, we also see something close to a two-tier performance distribution. Some devices fall into the 40-45% range, while others manage to remove over 60% or even more than 70% of the debris. Next, we move on to my hard floor test. For this test, I also use certified test dust. I apply 0.45 grams of it to the test surface. The surface is laminate flooring with a slightly textured finish. That means there are small grooves as well as the joints between the individual laminate panels. The test dust is meant to simulate typical household dust. The robots are then allowed to drive over the area 8 times at the maximum suction level to clean it. If available, the checkerboard pattern is used and the maximum overlap setting is enabled as well, meaning the robot drives a very tight cleaning pattern. Some robots allow you to adjust this setting. After these 8 passes, I inspect both the surface and the joints using a microfiber cloth. And here we can see that the result with the Dreame Aqua 10 is unfortunately not very good. The test area remains quite dusty, both on the surface and in the joints. For comparison, good cordless vacuum cleaners usually pick up this amount of dust in 2 to 4 passes. Among pure vacuum robots, the Dyson 360 Vis Nav was able to clean this test area completely after 8 passes in automatic mode. In boost mode, it only required 4 passes. However, when it comes to combo robots, the results have generally looked very similar to what we see here with the Dreame Aqua 10. In other words, none of these devices managed to clean the area properly or even acceptably in suction-only mode. Normally, I also run this test again with the mopping function enabled. That means the robot first vacuums the area 8 times and then mops it twice. Unfortunately, the mopping roller on my Dreame Aqua 10 has failed. More specifically, the motor that drives the roller is no longer working. Because of this, the results I obtained so far with the mopping test are not meaningful. I will therefore repeat this test as soon as possible, once the robot has been repaired or if I manage to fix the problem myself. So, as a quick conclusion, the most interesting thing about this robot is actually its sensor system. On the front, we have an active stereo vision system. We'll probably hear more about this in the future because upcoming Dreame devices will move away from the classic LDS tower. When it comes to cleaning performance, as you've seen, it's not enough to beat the Dreame X40. However, it is still better than what Dreame or Moova have released recently. Vacuuming-wise, the hard floor performance is also weak, or the mediocre performance we have seen from many other devices. And when it comes to carpet cleaning, there's still quite a noticeable gap compared to the current top performers, but at least it made it into one top 7 list right behind the X40. As mentioned, I'll test the mopping function again separately, and there will probably also be a dedicated video about the navigation. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.